Tony, the music we were playing before was amazing. I feel like I was playing like some kind of like first-person shooter where I run around and kill demons on Mars.
Yes, indeed.
Can we just play that the whole time for the next hour?
Just in the background, just rocking out forever.
That would be me. Hello, everyone,
Hi.
and welcome to Primecast for April 2019. I'm your host, Will Hungerford, lead developer at Privateer Press, and with me is my co-host, John Swinkles.
Hello.
Convention manager. If you've never watched Primecast before, here at Privateer Press, we stream twice a week always. Every Wednesday and Thursday, we do dev chat. Usually myself, Oz, and Jeff get on there and talk about CID and or what's going on with the different games. And then Get Your Paint on Thursdays with Jordan Lamb, where Jordan paints new models and talks to you about hobby tips and tricks. But we have two monthly shows. The Staff Showdown, where two or more of us get on and play things. Tony, our executive producer back there, has been on before when we did Level 7 during the Kickstarter. Last time was Jeff and I playing War Machine. I'm not even sure what we're playing next time. I'll be excited to find out. Like maybe Monster Apocalypse. Not Riot Quest yet, right?
Monster Apocalypse.
Monster Apocalypse, cool. And then Primecast Live happens monthly, which is what you're watching now, which is basically where we get
now
people from the company that you normally don't get to see on the stream a lot come on and talk about what they've got going on. So welcome. Thank you for joining us all. We're going to spend the next hour just chit-chatting. We are live on Twitch and Facebook right now, so please talk with us. Hello, everyone. Good to see you this morning, and we will try and answer your questions as best we can. I am feeling much better.
Good.
Because on Wednesday, we were all dying of the plague, and I took yesterday off and slept for most of it, and I feel like I can breathe and talk again.
I escaped it. I was in San Diego.
It's an insidious plague. It's kind of slowly making its way through people. So before we get into what we're going through today, we've got two major announcements, Mini Crate and Lock and Load. Today is the last day to order the Guardian Angel, the Ancestral Guardian Angel. So you can go to mini-crate.com and pick that up. After today, it's gone, and it's going to cycle over to the next miniature.
Forever.
Yep. The molds get destroyed. Boom, it's all gone. And of course, the VIP model is still the Bride of Arcadius. If you sign up for 6 months, you will get that in your next shipment whenever it happens to be. And the Legend of the Five Rings newest mini crate model, which you can find at mini-crate.com/L5R, is Kaito Kasori of the Phoenix Clan. That one's still available till May 5th. And as a quick reminder, Lock and Load is basically tomorrow. It's June 21st through 23rd.
Yeah.
Tickets are still available. pplockandload.com. Didn't we show the next mini crate model? Wasn't it the Protectorate Paladin?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. So I believe if you go check out Privateer's social media on Facebook, Twitter, or I'm not sure if it's on the website yet, but hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. I think Josh, our social media manager, showed off the next mini crate model, which is that super sweet looking Paladin, which we'll be talking about very soon here. So let's talk about what we're talking about today.
What are we talking about today?
We've got some new releases to talk about.
We do.
We're going to have Mike Valancourt come on. We're going to talk about Riot Quest, and we're going to show you some really cool Riot Quest stuff up close and personal that you haven't seen yet.
I'm stupid excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we're going to have Doug C. Cat come on, and Doug is going to do what Doug do. Get yourself a little miniature lore hour in as Doug talks about. I went in his office and we talked a little bit about what's going to happen, but it's also Doug, and Doug's just a reservoir of knowledge, so he may just like flip the script on us and talk about whatever he wants.
It's always whatever he wants. He's in charge.
Then you're going to talk about conventions.
I am.
Then we're going to say goodbye to everyone. We're going to go to Jimmy John's, and we're going to get a number 16.
Or a 10.
No, 16. 4 or 16, typically.
I'm getting a 10.
Oh, also, after we're done talking about the new stuff, I think we have some models that we want to show off that are coming out soon, including more mini crate models, some major announcements about War Madness and how it ended, and then show off one of the new OP prizes coming out in Crush Hour. So there's some other cool stuff coming on.
There's all kinds of cool stuff this week.
Type to Carry on Twitch says Scorn Riot Quest model win. There's a few coming, and they're going to blow your pants clean off your body. Make sure you're not driving when it happens, because you may get into a wreck. I will say that Riot Quest, the model started off to kind of give you a feel for the setting, and they just get progressively weirder. So as we get towards the end of the initial cycle of like 30-ish heroes, the last like 10 in particular get really, really bizarre and cool. Not just like look at it and you don't know what it is. You're gonna look at it and know what it is, but they're gonna be like really out there concepts, and Scorn is definitely one of those.
Yeah.
So, John, kick us off. What came out last Friday?
Last Friday, we had the Tokyo Triumph, which is one of the Monster Apocalypse monument buildings, kind of like the Imperial State Building and the Statue of Liberty. Speaking of the Imperial State Building, that also came out last Friday. But I wanted to talk about the Tokyo Triumph for just a second because this model is dope. So it might look like something else you're familiar with, but the benefits that it gives you in-game and the things that you can do with it are actually really fun. So one, it's a giant spike. So if you pick up a monster and slam it or otherwise cause it to collide with the building, it's going to do an extra point of damage because I believe the special ability is called Impale. Right. And then it's non-combustible because, well, the building's got no guts, so it doesn't blow up, so there's no fire when it explodes, so that Impale's actually really important. And then it also has like a what's called a tourist action, where you can spend an action die and get a power die.
Yeah.
And that's a lot in one little building.
It's also got the vantage point rule, so if you're securing it, your units can ignore cover when they make blast attacks because they're up on top shooting down, going like pew, 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 which is pretty funny when planes do it. I guess they just like fly higher.
I've got the high ground, Anakin.
I am super excited for that new movie, by the way. Just real ahead. We're just going to stay on topic, but yes. The other model that came out last week was the Imperial State Building. One of the most powerful abilities in Monster Apocalypse, if you're securing it, Monster Apocalypse, everyone. If you're securing it, you can spend an action to swap a building you are securing with a building you're not securing, which in Monster Apocalypse is absurdly powerful.
Super useful.
I recommend running at least 2 of them in most of your cities. I personally always run 2. It's one of the first things I reach out and grab a hold of, and it's something your opponent has to deal with because if they don't, you're going to be able to just run like all their careful planning at the beginning of the game when they deploy their city. You're going to be like, I'll take that, I'll move this. And if you're playing Shadow Sun, being able to move the Shadow Sun Industries buildings around kind of willy-nilly is pretty good.
And one of the things with any of the buildings to keep in mind is as soon as you put it on your table, your opponent can use it too if they can get to it.
Yeah. So today. I didn't realize our releases were on Fridays. I thought they were on Wednesdays. I learned something new every day. Today in
It's only
stores.
been that way for quite a while.
No, it was Wednesdays for years.
Yes, but it's been Fridays for some time.
Man, I don't know. I just write rules and come on live streams and talk to people on social media and go to conventions.
Indeed.
And fix things. But I do not release models in stores. Today, Baron Tunglick is out. So you're going to see several of the new Grimkin models are hitting stores today. Baron Tunglick, the Warlock attachment for the Grimkin. These models were all released as pre-releases at Adepticon, and we saw them in action. And Kingdom Con. And we saw them in action. Basically, the entire slew of the 6 new Grimkin models have all been put to use from Grave Ghoul. Clockatresses in particular have been very popular, but everyone is picking up Baron Tunglick because Warlock attachments are just always strong.
Yep.
Speaking of things that are always strong, the Malady Man, who you can now take 2 of for free in Bump in the Night, who his main shtick is giving desperate pace out to those units. But also his lullaby aura, where you can put people stationary, is super. I mean, you saw it come up in Jeff and I's game on the monthly Rumble last time. And the third release today is the Nayslayer Warhorse, because just in case you wanted your armor-piercing Nightmare Cav to hit harder and to be unkillable on the approach thanks to playing dead, you can pick up a Nayslayer Warhorse.
And it's freaking amazing looking. Jordan painted it on his stream a couple weeks ago.
Oh, did he?
So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, that model is sweet.
Next Friday, it's Steelhead time. We're bringing the big guns. The 3 weapon crew are out next Friday. So if you're looking to build up your Steelhead theme force, the cannon crew, the volley crew, and the mortar crew are all dropping in stores next Friday. Make sure you go to your local stores. Pre-order early, pick them up, enjoy, blow some stuff up. Did we not have photos for those, Tony?
No.
I'm sorry. It's okay. Next time. Do we have a photo of some other stuff we want to show real fast before we get Mike on here, though? You want to show the donut shop first? Let's show the donut shop first. I think, yeah. So Crush Hour is basically the steamroller kit for Monster Apocalypse. But if you win, the top prize is you get an alternate sculpt building that counts as one of the main buildings, and you can use it in your games. And because you can have 4 of any building, winning multiple tournaments gets you multiple prizes. For the longest time, or since launch, it's been the Privateer Press HQ, which has been an alternate corporate HQ. It's about to cycle soon. So you'll see these shipping out soonish. It's going to be the Demolition Donuts Donut Factory, which is an alternate industrial complex.
Sculpted by Nate Brooks, who's hanging out in chat today.
Hey, Nate. How's it going? Also, speaking of Crush Hour, 2 other things to announce. We're going to have a contest we'll be announcing details on in the future, where it's going to be for retailers only, and the winning retail store, we will make their store the next building that shows up in Crush Hour at that time after the contest.
Stupid excited
Like,
for that.
it'll either physically be their store, or if it's the store like in a strip mall or a mall that doesn't make a good model, we'll use their name.
Yeah.
So if it's like, the Dragon's Lair, we'll make a Dragon's Lair. If it's like Black Knight Game, we'll make a giant like chess piece building, stuff like that. So that's gonna be really cool whenever that happens. Also, Crush Hour news. We haven't announced this yet, and I wasn't approved to announce this, but I'm gonna announce it. We're gonna offer a new Crush Hour OP event, which is Crush Hour Leagues. These are gonna work like Journeyman. So when they come out, you will be able to run a slow grow where you start with a starter box or a starter box equivalent, which we've made one for every agenda, and over the course of 4 weeks build up to a full-size force. The prize kits remain the same, so if you don't want to play in a tournament to win the buildings, you can run a league with the league champion being the person that wins the Crush Hour building as well, to give maybe the less competitive-minded people, or people that just want a little bit slower-paced game, or need time to learn the strategy and paint their models away to get
Or
these
just
prizes.
have more games to play in.
Or more games to play.
Yeah. I like multiple ways to get a thing.
Forsaken Pop-Tart says the name of their store is Games and Stuff. So that building would be a giant treasure chest, like a toy chest with
Like a widower's wood chest?
like doors you could walk in the building and windows, but the top of it would look like it was open, and it would just be full of all kinds of like little I don't know, like plushy versions of
like games and
Belchers.
stuff?
No, that'd be like plushy versions of Belchers and things popping out. The other thing we want to talk about is a mini crate coming up soon. We're not saying when yet. It's Asphyxius before he became undead. I don't actually know the final name of him. Tony, do you know the final name of him yet? We don't know the final name, but this is... So if you don't know Asphyxius' story... oh, wait. Doug's back there. Doug, do you know his official name?
I think we put it online.
Doug's going to look it up.
Isn't it like Asphyxius the Undamned?
That is correct. That's right.
Yeah, nailed it. And guess what? If you subscribe starting Saturday, our very own Josh Clone just confirmed that for me.
He's the next mini crate model?
He's the next mini crate
I thought
model.
it was the Paladin. Well, okay then.
Josh could be wrong.
I'm
I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but he could be wrong. And
You know
that's
what?
he told me.
Keep an eye on our social media. There'll be the official announcements. But this is basically, so Asphyxius used to be a druid. To show his undying love to Torok, he threw himself into a volcano and got pulled out by Torok, who breathed undead life back into him. So this is his human version. Gameplay-wise, in War Machine of Hordes, this will be an alternate sculpt of Asphyxius 1 for Crix, in case you're wondering what you can use him as. Can't wait to see the painted version of that. I don't know when Jordan's going to get his hands on it and start working on it, though.
So good.
Cheddar Caveman says, but he doesn't play for Circle? Well, no, he never really played for Circle in the first place.
No, he plays for Torek, not
He
the
didn't
Worm.
really play. He played for them like old. See, Doug's back here going, he did. He played for them like Old Witch played for Circle.
Well, he was full circle, but then he saw the dragon and was like, I need to join that team.
That team's got dragons.
You can't be that dedicated to a team, Doug, if you see a dragon and decide I'm going to jump
Tell
sides.
that to Asphyxius.
I will. I'm gonna.
Highest level of dedication.
Sometimes you swap teams by jumping in a volcano.
Yeah. The other major announcement is, unfortunately, Ashland won War Madness. Now, I want to let
Unfortunately.
all of you let me down. We were this close to
No, you
having
didn't.
Barnabas versus Carver in the finals,
Hungerford's love means nothing.
but my love means everything.
Means nothing. Ashland is the best.
We were this close, and Ashland won. So for all you Ashland fans, congratulations. As part of winning, there's a couple things we brought up. There's going to be a special unveiling, we said in the Insider, of a new Ashland model that I think we're working on at Lock and Load. And there is a new concept art added to the store, online store today
Go
that
get
you
it
can
right
pick
now.
up. So store.privateerpress.com. It just got added in celebration of Ashland stealing the victory from the real heroes of the Iron Kingdoms.
Taking what was rightfully earned.
Right? Not concept art.
Oh,
yeah,
it's a print.
Yeah, print.
Yeah. Valancourt is correcting us because we're wrong.
I'm so upset. We were so close. We could have had the rematch that happened at the end of the main like Horde storyline where Barnabas became a god. But it's okay. You know, I'm a Merc player too, mainly Cephalix, and one day maybe we'll take our brains.
But
So.
that print's only going to be available for a limited time, so make sure to go get that, put it on your wall, and make your life that much better.
Buy it, draw in your own copy of Barnabas and Carver fighting it in the background, frame that. I mean, however you want to do it.
Don't ruin it.
If you want to do it right. So that is the end of the intro and all the stuff we want to announce. So let's go ahead and get our first guest on, which is going to be our art director, Mike Valancourt, who's going to talk to us a bit about Riot Quest, and we're going to show off some art for it.
Some cool stuff.
Woo!
Lean over. Meow.
Get nice and close. There we go.
Delicious,
it going?
delicious non-branded beverage.
It's Friday.
How are you dealing with the plague? Because I know you had it as well.
I'm over it. Now I'm working through the weekend.
Yeah.
I almost got caught up and then found some like, oh no, I have more stuff to do.
Yeah.
So I've got concept art to draw this weekend.
When I said it was ravaging all of us here, I was not lying. Like, it spread through the company. Like,
Oh, yeah. No, like this place is a giant petri dish right now. It's worse than living at home with an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. So, except everybody's like, I don't know, we like start policing people like at restaurants or put up one of those signs like all employees must wash their hands before returning back to work.
Sure.
Like I don't even want to take a black light to the freaking door handles in this joint right now.
Nope.
we should get a little thing of, what's that, like, that main antiseptic hand wash that
Hand
everybody-
sanitizer?
Yeah, what's that main one that everyone uses, though?
Fire.
Fire?
It's the only way to be
When
sure.
in doubt, go for kerosene.
I was gonna say get a spray bottle of it, but a spray bottle of fire is called a flamethrower, Tony. So we should just walk by people and just flamethrow the ends of their hands and their mouth a little bit.
Matt
Well,
has
didn't
one of
Matt
those.
get the
Yes.
Boring Company one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can bring that in and we can just have a cleanse.
Right then.
Well, it's like Ed and I used to joke about we should have a CS gas chamber to fix everybody's colds because, like, the one thing in boot camp is, like, once you get sick, because everybody's sick right before you go to the confidence chamber.
Yeah,
Like, when
right.
you come out the other side, you're just sitting there and everything's emptying out, but then you feel right as rain. Like, within, like, 4 or 5 hours afterwards, like, wow,
Because-
that's way better
because
than
you
4 or 5 days of
purged-
suffering followed by a bunch of,
everything.
antibiotics.
Don't gas me, bro. If I walk in the dev office and the door closes and all of a sudden I just see you outside and you're like,
Pop and smoke.
let's talk about Riot Quest art. How about we do that? So
As we were.
I think the first thing we wanted to show off is the cover art that's going to be on the actual box, right, Tony?
Ta-da.
Behold.
Now I know you worked on this for a while.
Not really.
It seemed like a while to me.
Well, it's because everything feels like it takes a while because one day is 8 whole hours, even though it might be 12. Like
I saw
yesterday.
multiple iterations of this across several weeks.
Oh well, yeah, that's because we trickled it out with each character,
Oh,
and then
okay.
we get the background, and then I designed the gate, and then once I designed the gate, then it was we got to add that in now too. Then we got to put in some coins. Then we got to put in some swords.
See?
Yeah.
I knew it didn't take a day. So talk us
Well, it was
through
like 4 or 5.
what all do we have going on here in this?
So we've got our main core launch box.
Yep.
So we've got Eris, we've got Gubbin, we've got Boomhowler, sorry, not Boomhowler.
Yeah.
Bamfist.
Bamfist, yeah.
It has been a long week.
Yeah.
Bamfist, Dreyfus, and Dez.
Yep.
So.
And I mean, this really kind of shows sort of the aesthetic of Riot Quest, right? They see they're standing on some of the cracked, ruined ground. There's stuff laying all around that they're trying to scavenge.
Fat loots.
But the main thing we add in the back is the interdimensional spawn gate in the back that sort of everyone's popping through.
Yeah, the 2-hour concept.
Yeah, the 2-hour concept.
And go.
Now, people will get a better look at what that thing looks because they're sort of standing in front of it, but you can kind of see behind Eris, in between Dez and Dreyfus's hips, the base of it, and then the two big sort of arms that come up off the sides,
Yep.
right?
Very
That-
convergence
that
inspired.
absolutely not a Tesla coil thing.
No, because it's like, and it's right now it's activated, like it's just been blasted on. This is actually part of the game.
Yep.
When players spawn in the arena, you don't deploy where you want to on the board. There's 6 of these things. They're numbered 1 through 6, and every time you deploy, you roll a d6, and you show up adjacent to one of them randomly. So as your heroes keep cycling through, and during initial deployment, you don't know where your team's going to get scattered to the 4 winds across the arena, and then you have to sort of like deal with that as best you can.
Well, because the point that keeps coming up about the gameplay of the game is managing chaos, right?
Managing.
Yeah.
And I keep telling people, like at shows and stuff, how excited I am about it because I sit very close to where Hungerford and Tony and others have been playtesting it, and all I hear is nothing but like unbridled joy and then a few expletives here and there when something goes awry. And
So
it makes
work.
me want to play it.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So the color you went with it being sort of like this bright bluish light. Were there any discussions about other colors coming out of the spawn gate? Like, was it ever going to be like red, yellow, green, anything like that? Or was it always just this was what it was going to look like?
Well, I primarily went with a convergence setup for the overall palette for it, just because that seems to be our default for like here's high tech inside of the Iron Kingdoms, right? And from there, it also helps kind of wash out the background in a way that it just backlights everybody, so that way you get a stronger silhouette for each of the characters.
Were there any other considerations for what the cover art might have looked like, or was this always going to be it? Did you have other ideas at one point of what you wanted to do? Can you talk about any of that? Can you talk about what hit the cutting room floor?
Well, we're kind of implementing that actually. It's so my idea was, I know it doesn't really tie into what we've got here, but jokingly, I always thought we should do this like Street Fighter art, where you've got like a new challenger has arrived, and then you can have like the big huge splash shots where you see everybody like just joined up together, getting ready to fight with the big burst pattern behind them, and it's a little bit more over the top. So.
Oh, Doug just walked up and handed us a surprise, which we'll get to in one second.
Okay.
And speaking of, before we move on to the next big Riot Quest thing to talk about, is there anything else about that art you wanted to say right now? Because I think we're about to start showing off models, which you can talk about. What? So Tony has set up a special camera here, and what we're going to do is show you your first look at the 5 painted models that come.
So good.
Now
that looks great.
they come unpainted, unassembled, like any of our hobby miniatures. But these are the 5 miniatures that you will receive inside a Riot Quest starter box, and the other heroes will be part of either larger expansion boxes or individual blisters. So we've got Gubbin.
You can stop right there. Just Gubbin. Look at that.
Our explosive specialist.
He's so
And,
happy.
I'm going to take these models in a second. I'm going to kind of give them a one by one.
Have you seen my alternate on him?
Eris, Fortune Hunter of Ios. She is the leader of this scavenger crew in the starter box. My favorite model by far, Balthazar Bamfist, who I've learned is from Zoo and is a dwarf. Now, one thing I want to point out is that the Riot Quest timeline is separate from the main continuity. So when people are like, wait, how are these things happening? Riot Quest is a possible future. It is a separate timeline. So if we ever talk about a character being dead or somebody becomes like a mechanical version of themselves, this is not in the main War Machine storyline, though the models will have rules and be playable in War Machine Hordes.
Multiverse.
Dez, who is freaking huge, and this is canonical. This is not like just a weird angle. She's supposed to be like 6'7" or something like that. She's
tall.
She is super tall. And then my favorite, I love his storyline. Sir Dreyfus, the Storm Knight. His storyline is, and the reason he has little legs and a big upper torso. Dreyfus applied to become a Storm Knight before the Apocalypse, and they kept turning him down and kicking him out. So after the Apocalypse and Riot Quest occurred, there are no Storm Knights left. So he went and cobbled together his own version of armor and said, I'm a Storm Knight. So he is Sir Dreyfus, the Storm Knight, because he is the only one left.
It should be Sir Dreyfus, don't skip leg day.
So let's go ahead and give him a quick turn here. You can see what we're talking about. He's got the jetpack on his back. He's got the shield. The armor on the top of him is much larger versus, I'm actually going to move Eris back here.
Get that focus.
And we're going to put him up front. So you can see that he's got this big upper torso, and the legs, they don't quite meet up. So that's his normal human legs inside of what is a much larger suit of armor. In comparison, and he's wearing armor that makes him big. So let's grab just let's grab Eris. So we know how big an elf is, right? Right. Here's our Eris. We know Dez is a human. That is a big girl.
Yep.
With a big
Better eat your
gun.
Wheaties.
Yeah, she is. I love her character. She's super no nonsense. She just walks around and she has a bazooka that, as you see, she fires one-handed. She's sort of like the smart mouth, sassy bruiser of the
She's
crew.
Vasquez.
She's yes.
She's Vasquez
she's-
and Sarah Connor merged into one.
Yep.
Let's move her back, and then I want to show off. I adore what Jordan did here with Balthazar in terms of the paint scheme. So, weird
So cool.
genie-looking dwarf from Zoo with this giant sort of mech fist here.
Dude,
That
he's
boy-
ripped. He's swole.
That boy does not miss gym days whatsoever.
Don't skip back day.
He does not skip back day whatsoever.
Get jacked.
And then
Get jacked,
obviously,
get paid.
Yeah.
in case you want to blow up everything, including possibly your own team,
The best character ever.
we've got
Gubbin.
Gubbin and his giant. His ranged attack in Riot Quest is actually just called Too Many Explosives, because that's what he's throwing. He's one of the only characters who can accidentally kill himself if you play. You have to do that on purpose though.
And if you can't quite make it out, depending on what kind of screen you're looking at, his backpack is nothing but explosives.
Yeah.
I don't
Now-
know. Did the detail on his belt buckle come through? I didn't get to check that.
You let me know.
Yeah.
Now, while you're doing that, I've got a couple other models I want to show off real fast. The fully painted version of Boomhowler Solo Artist.
It's a no smoking sign.
yeah!
He has a no smoking sign on his belt buckle.
Yep.
That's amazing. I don't think the camera's going to pick that up on the Gubbin, but
Yeah, we need to hit that up with some gold.
now, if I'm not mistaken, Jordan painted most of these, but I think this one was painted by Ron Cruzy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Ron Cruzy, studio director,
Yep.
jumped in on the opportunity to paint what is effectively in War Machine will be Boomhowler 2. In Riot Quest is just Boomhowler Solo Artist. The rest of the company is gone, and now he's running around rocking a chain gun by himself. Let me pull up.
Dun, 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 dun.
Squee! Harlow Hold'em High. He's one of the scouts, an ambidextrous Rulik gun mage.
Probably tilt them back so you can see
Oh yeah.
what is of his face.
Hiding under that
Let's
tricorn.
see if I can grab him underneath by the base and show it that way.
There we
There
go.
you So yeah, he's looking out from underneath that giant tricorn. And we see that he's actually one of the easier models to paint, which I appreciate. And I also like that most of these models are actually fairly straightforward to paint.
Real
'Cause
quick.
When you play Riot Quest, you need a minimum of 5 models, maximum of 10. There's no army points, so you just build your crew and you just pick the models you like. Now, models have their own individual rules. There's 6 classes in the game: fighters, gunners, scouts, specialists, rogues, and guards. So somebody like Dez here is a gunner, which means she is particularly strong at making ranged attacks and fighting from space away. If you haven't heard about Riot Quest yet, a lot of news has been put out about it. We're going to be talking more, but it is a hex-based hybrid miniature board game where your team is running around, doesn't use tape measures, doesn't use terrain on a 4x4. You count spaces as you move. These are not the spaces. This is just a nice little thing we put underneath it. Tony, you've actually got some photos that we might be able to show later of what the board looks like.
Oh, cool.
But everyone's got a unique rule and their own rules, and it plays nothing like War Machine. This is a very casual game. It takes about 5 minutes learning to play and about 30 minutes to play a game. We've had some external playtesters talking about it. Travis Marg, one of our external playtesters, posted on social media recently how much he enjoyed it, and it's been a lot of fun here in his experiences, playing with his son especially. But somebody like Dez is a gunner. Somebody like Dreyfus is a guard, very good at protecting other people on the team. He's also very mobile with that jetpack. Somebody like Balthazar is a specialist. He's usually has pure support role and also very good at helping people pick up and find loot. You see that little ball he's got in his hand, goes out and like finds bits of gear and stuff he can scavenge.
It's like a little
sniffer.
possible drone thing.
Yeah. Another version of a gunner like Dez is obviously Boomhowler here.
God, that model's so freaking cool. Ron did a great job on that.
They're
Yeah,
scouts.
that tartan is beautiful.
Scouts are highly mobile and actually help lead the team and or debuff the other team. Like Eris is a scout. She makes it easier for other people on the team to hit. And then you've got, we don't have any fighters to show, but we also got rogues. And rogues are one of the few models that can move through other models, through enemy models. And they usually are very good at taking things away from you. So for example, we have Gorman the Mad. And this is Gorman with an alchemical sludge cannon. And one of
Scooch him up a little bit.
Sure. One of his rules in the game is that if somebody's been equipped and upgraded with gear, if Gorman hits you with that thing, the cards you put on the hero are immediately discarded.
That's so freaking cool.
So he sneaks around, skulks around the battlefield, and just strips off all the hard-gotten gains that you've put on your characters.
As Lovegod just pointed out, the sculpt on that is just the posing and everything that's going on there is so freaking cool.
I think out of the first batch of stuff when we were designing things, that was the one that I was like, yes, this is awesome.
So we're hoping to have this available for people to play, not purchase, but play at Lock and Load. So if you're thinking about coming to Lock and Load, I will hopefully be showing people their first look at the game if we've got everything we need. Because there's a lot of cards necessary. There's the entire board that you play on.
And there will be some hangouts with you and Mike and Matt and
Yep, we'll be talking
all
about
kinds
that.
of stuff talking about the development of the game, the concepting, and then the execution of the game itself.
So, Mike, you've been doing the concept art on basically all the Riot Quest models.
Yep.
Which hero that you've done so far, even if it isn't one of these, is your favorite?
Ooh.
I know the ones we haven't done yet, so I'm not worried about you not saying them.
I don't know. Can I talk about all of the stuff that we've concept?
Just said one. Just one.
Black Bella.
Yeah, people have seen. So yeah, Black
Yeah.
Bella, the Duchess of Dread. We showed Jordan was painting her at Adepticon.
Oh, nice.
And she is the evil pirate lady who runs up with. She has like a rapier and then like a parrying dagger. And yeah, I'm excited. She should be done soon. She's one of the first fighter models we'll be releasing. The other fighter class model is Orsus the Chained, which people have seen.
Yeah,
the
Orsus
new,
is cool.
the new version of
What
Butcher.
class is James?
James is a guard.
Okay.
She is a particularly punishing guard too. One of her rules in Riot Quest is if you hit someone adjacent to her, she can take the hit instead, and when you hit her, you take a point of damage back.
Wow.
The health on most Riot Quest models is 2 to 4 health, and most attacks do 1 or 2 damage. So being able to plink somebody every time you're hitting them is really strong in Riot Quest.
And if people are like, but what are James? When we did the Kickstarter for the art book, which I think you can still do late pledges for, she's a model you can get that way, and then she'll be released as well.
So before we get out of here, Twitch chat. I see a lot of people talking about Chuck Dogwood. We talked about him on.
He's pretty baller too.
Yeah, we talked about him. It was like April 2nd or 3rd or something like that. We announced that Chuck was coming. People were asking what class he is. Well, there'll be more information coming about Chuck Dogwood soon. He's definitely a real model that's happening, I promise. So we want to show off a couple of the board images real quick. Tony got those pulled up. So Tony, on the screen real fast, if you can flash. Here's a couple like in-game shots.
So good.
Thunderhead Fortress.
You see bits of Thunderhead Fortress, the initial map that comes in the box. On the map, a couple things you can see. Everybody occupies one space. People have a speed like 3 or 4. That's how many spaces they get to move. The numbered yellow spot you see is a treasure beacon, where every turn a treasure chest will pop into play. And it, again, like I was talking about the spawn gates earlier, you randomly deploy. The treasure chests show up at random spots. You roll a d6, and that shows where they come up. The hazard symbols you can kind of see. And Tony, if you go to the next image we have available. Those hazard symbols are way more. Those are obstacles. They count as 2 spaces when you move into them, and they also provide cover, making it a little bit harder to be hit. You can see one of the spawn gates right to the right of Dez and Harlow there with the number 4 on it, and it's that same blue you
Yep.
got on the cover art, and that's a spot that heroes would spawn adjacent to. So we've been talking a lot more about Riot Quest and this sort of really fun, fast-paced, chaotic, casual game we've got coming out.
I'm excited.
Hey, I'm super excited.
It's gonna be great.
Before we get out of here, Twitch chat or Facebook chat, Tony, could you bring up the models again? Is there any model that's on here that any of you in chat wanted a closer look at real quick before we skip off to the next? No?
They wanted to see other angles on Gorman.
They want to see other angles
Oh
on
yeah.
Gorman?
Well, show him the backs, the backpack and the vials on his hip.
Okay.
That way you get to see the cool green glowing
So
goo.
that's the other angles that Valancourt's wants to see.
So let's
That's where the cool stuff is, man.
let's take a look at his backpack here and all the crazy stuff on it. Let's move him a little bit further, and you can kind of get another profile shot. That this is sort of where all the alchemical sludge that's going in the cannon is coming through that pipe and coming around.
Yep. Too bad we can't sculpt that.
And then I'm gonna grab him from the bottom, and I'm gonna sort of tip him up here so you can get
There you go. There's all that green glowing stuff.
underneath look at the model here.
The contrast. Look at the colors.
And these are just going to be combination resin and metal, like most of the models that
Yep.
folks can get from us lately. Because the team in our production area has pulled off some just amazing things lately with executing the sculpts that Doug and others have made from yours and others concept art. And
Andrea and Matt did a lot of the.
I'm always so excited when they get realized like this, because I don't know if people realize just how much work goes into like making sure that Gorman, Boomhowler, and the others actually turn out in the kind of poses that they do. Like there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that that's actually feasible.
God, Gorman looks great.
Yeah. And there's been a couple questions in chat for a couple more characters on the both chats, so I'm just going to do a quick rotation on a couple more of them. Look at the side. Hold on, one more time. Let's just get Gubbin in there for
extreme
Gubbin
scale.
for scale.
Gubbin for scale. But for
Des the kaiju.
For real scale, like there's Eris, right? That gives you an idea of a normal sized.
Yeah.
Normal size. And actually,
Eris is
I'll
behind and is then finally as tall.
Right. So that thing is enormous. And then I saw one last request real fast we'll get to before we let you out of here, Mike. Somebody, Old Gru, says, your engineers are awesome. Thank you very much.
That is a fact.
That is 100% truth.
And there was one last request to do another rotation on Dreyfus, which we'll do real fast. Are you looking forward to painting any of these models yourself, Mike?
Yeah. The big question is when can I get them?
I just got the first 3 models from Jordan, and they're not even the starter box. He gave me an early prototype.
Yeah.
Harlow, James, and Gubbin for me to paint up, because since I'm lead designer developer on the game, I'm running all the play tests, and I want to try and get one of every model fully painted. So when we play test, we're not having to use proxy models, because proxy models work, but it's always easier when somebody has an actual visible representation.
It's easier to get into the game.
I'm kind of terrified, actually, of how much stuff I'm going to have to paint between this and Infernals.
Luck God 84 says, what nation is Des from? Well, in the Riot Quest timeline, there are no nations left, but originally she was Ordic. I'm trying to remember what her full name. Actually, it's in the book when it goes into her. Like her full name is like 4 names long. She has like this really long name, but she just goes by Des for short. Oh, her last name's Acosta. That's right. I just remembered.
Any relation to the other Acosta?
Oh, I don't know.
Huh.
So, all right, cool. Well, thanks for coming on and talking to us about Riot Quest, Mike. And we've got a lot more stuff to show off in the near future.
Awesome. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Tony, we need drums.
Do we have drums?
We should have drums.
We didn't play them for last
We
time.
haven't been playing any drums.
We got drums.
Drums.
Twitch like, what? 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 Yeah, her last name's Acosta. I don't know, we never said when the Riot Quest timeline occurs. Maybe she's daughter, maybe she's sister, maybe there's no relation. But we're not getting into any of that.
No. So I don't know any of it.
Well, you honestly don't even have to, Riot Quest is such a out there continuity. It's an Elseworlds, effectively, right?
Yeah, I think it was created so they could avoid my continuity.
But you are the master of the main continuity,
Sure.
the true storyline of War Machine. Everyone, Doug Seacat, lead writer, head writer, writing director.
Senior writer, something?
Doug Seacat,
continuity.
Doug Seacat title.
Yeah.
Doug Seacat.
Writing and
Doug
things.
Seacat's title, as far as I'm concerned, is Lord of Words.
Sure.
So what do you want to talk about today?
Oh, I thought you had some questions for me related.
I had one, but
previous
I was going to get to that at the end. But we can do it first before
Sure.
you get into your topic today.
Yeah.
So this actually came up on the dev chat. I was talking about Warjacks for a
Right.
second, and I said he in relation to a Warjack, and I corrected myself and I said, well, it's a machine.
Sure.
And you were in the stream at the time, and you said, well, a lot of casters actually refer to their jacks when they become attached to them as he's or she's.
Sure.
They might in their assign a gender to them.
It's kind of like the personification that happens like when you start calling a jack a name, and they do have quirks and behavior, but for the most part, jacks don't actually have a gender. It's just something that's kind of in a caster's head. They might, we've tended to kind of treat like Old Rowdy is one of the ones that comes to mind right off the top of my head. We tend to treat Old Rowdy as male,
As a heel.
Yeah, and that's just because of how Stryker interacts with Old Rowdy. But for the most part, I would still consider them to be its. Yeah. I did realize when you were talking about it, we haven't actually shown that I can think of. Somebody might find one and contradict me, but I can't remember where we've ever shown a female, a jack referred to as female, but it could certainly happen.
And that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Was there a reference of a caster? Because you and I were talking earlier outside of this, and you're talking about how like ships are often referred to in the female.
It's just like a custom, yeah.
So I didn't know if like colossals, for example, might be referred to in the female
Or galleons specifically.
or galleon. Yeah, no, that's a great like the galleon
It's
was
practically a ship.
So if there is not a canonical version, this is just me sort of asking like which caster or even person, maybe like a Jack Marshall, do you think might refer to their Jack as a she? Is there anybody that pops ahead or not really?
I don't know, but I do like the notion of maybe some of the pirate, warcasters. Like
I can see Fiona or Bart.
Bart in particular, I could see, with his galleons, treating them as female. But yeah, it's definitely sort of just an artificial, tag that you throw on there, and also just for language reasons. There's times where it's hard to talk always about something as an it.
You're right.
And
Discordia is coming up a lot too.
Well,
What's that?
they're saying in the Twitch chat that the community often refers to Discordia and Chimera as female, even though
that's true.
we never have officially.
No, and I think that might be true. I can't remember if in the description we do, but I do. Those are names that I think were chosen to have more of a female sound to them. I don't remember if in the fiction we've used the
Like a harpy.
but it's possible. But yeah, I think for the most part, they don't actually have sex as far as anybody knows.
Yeah, this is a War Machine. Like you don't have this problem in Hordes,
Right.
You just go check the dire troll.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd be like,
Exactly. Well, and we have things like
I know what's going on.
like dragon spawn don't have gender either,
Right.
Because they're sort of artificial biological forms. that are-
Wolves don't either.
Yeah, exactly.
You
So
know.
anyway, that was just something that
Does
had come
Woldy
up.
though?
Woldy? I imagine Woldy is whatever Chuck thinks it is that morning when he wakes up.
Sure.
So what was the topic you wanted to talk about with everyone today?
Well, I kind of wanted to get into. First of all, I was really excited during the dev chat that you guys had a chance to show off some of the upcoming Order of Illumination. Or talk about, I guess. Did we show it? So we did show some of the concept.
We showed Glenn Okay, so we showed the Resolutes.
Right.
We did not show the medium-based one. We did not
Right.
show- but one thing.
Or we showed it was the Vigilance, I think.
Yes, we showed the Vigilance. Thank
Right,
you. The
not-
Resolutes
not
and the
the
medium-based.
Resolutes.
And then we showed Glenn, and we were saying Cormier.
Yeah, I mean, the person is from Lale. I'm not.
So
I
it would be
haven't,
French
I haven't
then.
gotten comfortable with the name, but yeah, that's probably what I would.
French.
Okay, so Glenn Cormier. So actually,
Yeah.
Tony says we actually have that concept art ready to
cool.
show on the
Ooh.
screen.
Yeah, let's do
So
it.
Tony, show us the Order of the Illumination, Vigilance, and so that's a unit.
That's so those are the vigilant this is the Vigilance, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yes.
So if Ios has mage hunters, these guys are just straight up monster hunters.
Yeah, these are part of the Order. They're the fast-moving, stealthy Pathfindery.
Yeah,
get
the-
in and strike from a distance.
The notion is these would be soldiers in the Order of Illumination who are basically aspiring to become illuminated ones. People like Harlan Versh and our new character are sort of more senior in the organization. Once you become an illuminated one, that's sort of a mark of distinction. These guys are kind of on that path. If they're good enough, if they survive, they might be able to eventually lead their own investigations and become an illuminated one.
Which is the next piece of art we have to show is Glenn Cormier, who is Glenn Cormier illuminated one,
Right.
And has actual in-game rules that leads that unit and makes them stronger.
And she's basically the same equivalent rank as what Versh was. Now Versh has been sort of in and out of the Order of Illumination. He's been an outcast at some times because he was considered a little too extreme. But as with many things, when the Infernals show up, some old grudges are forgiven.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Versh is let back in the building and allowed to hang out with his old friends.
There's bigger problems to
Yeah,
deal
exactly.
with than being like, that one time you were super mean.
Yeah, well, and he legitimately did some pretty rough stuff, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about is the notion of sort of inquisitors as a category, which depending on how you define it, it made me realize that we have just off the top of my head, we have at least 5 different sort of inquisitorial groups in the Iron Kingdoms.
Not just the classic Inquisitors like we see here.
Yeah, there's and you could classify. I do like the designation that you guys were talking about, which is sort of the witch hunter or monster hunter vibe. But we do have these various groups in the Iron Kingdoms that are sort of inquisitorial in nature, just because Inquisitors are both cool and scary at the same time.
Like the Scrutators are protectorate.
Right,
obviously.
like the first ones that came to mind, like when I was just running through them in my head. I thought of 4, and then I thought of 5, and there's probably more. That's just kind of off the top of my head. But like, if you think of groups that are kind of set up to either interrogate, cause pain, hunt down specific individuals, maybe for doing occult things.
Nobody ever suspects the Order of Illumination.
It's a theme that we return to, and it's kind of interesting because, of course, in the real world, the Inquisition, really bad and scary and dark. But I do think that's one of the reasons why
they did protect us from being taken over by dragons back in the day.
You mean in the real world?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
that's why you don't see any dragons.
That's why there's no dragons.
Okay, all right. I'm not familiar with this particular theory.
Grow up in the South.
Okay, I see.
But sorry.
But yeah, like, if you think about our organizations, like we have, even in the Retribution, we have mage hunters that are basically out there murdering human mages. And I would consider that to be an inquisitorial
But that's
group.
because they're killing our god.
Nonetheless.
That's really interesting because I thought you were going to say seekers.
No. The seekers aren't about, like, they're trying to find things. They're not hunting down people.
Right, they're hunting down knowledge, though, right?
Right, but I'm talking about inquisitorial groups that are basically like hunting down, killing, or causing pain to things.
Got it.
And so I think the Scrutators in the Protectorate are one, Pain Givers in the Scorn. They're more focused on the
kind of everyone in
interrogation
Scorn.
Side of things.
Kind of everyone,
but the Pain Givers in particular, their cast is focused on
exactly that.
Unlike the
exacting pain.
Tormentors.
Well, no, that's more self. I mean, there's a variety of pain is an important concept in the Scorn in general, but like the Pain Givers as a cast, one of their service is to other houses where you have somebody you need tracked down and have pain inflicted on them.
Right.
You go to the Pain Givers.
With the Grey Lords?
Well, no, I would say that's more of just a straight up arcane organization.
Okay.
But then you have, of course, the actual, what we refer to as the Inquisition in our setting was Vinter Railthorn's Inquisition, which were true inquisitors that kind of went corrupt. They were ostensibly an organization to hunt down illegal sorcerers and kind of bad use of magic. So that kind of has that Inquisition vibe. But then he ended up using it for his own political purposes and basically just capturing anybody he didn't like in the middle of the night.
Can we bring up the concept art for Cormier again?
Sure.
I imagine there's some of them that are pretty easy to say they don't have one. Like, I imagine the Legion of Everblight doesn't really have Inquisitors.
Not really.
Right.
But I think I named the 5 that I kind of had in mind as feeling the closest to what I would consider to be Inquisitors. And the Order of Illumination would be the last one, and this is, I would call, the nicest of our Inquisitors.
The gentle Inquisition.
The ones that have the most sort of checks and balances and are usually on the side of right. But still, they do have some dark overtones in our setting.
Yeah, ignore the giant guns and terrifying swords. They're the nice guys.
And like the reason why Versh was kicked out of the Order of Illumination is like basically one of the ideas is that they're supposed to follow certain procedures. You're supposed to check in with like your local vicariate council of the church before you start like capturing children and interrogating them.
Which is what well, that's what Versh did.
Yeah. The notion with Versh is, he's tracking down an infernalist cabal and might happen upon maybe an underage infernalist, and bad things happened. But the notion is that the Order of Illumination might be put in a position to have to do dark things in unearthing these cults.
Lawful good does not mean lawful nice.
And they're definitely on the edge. They're sort of like our most sinister of our Morrowind organizations. Like the Church of Morrow in our setting, it definitely has complexities. It has overtones. There's different subsects. But overall, the Church of Morrow is considered our most sort of openly benevolent organization. It's our least gray, organization.
So, and to speak of things they would kick people out of, the story with Versh, if I remember from Machinations, is he found a possessed child.
Right.
And he had to put it down.
Yes.
Because it was possessed by something, right?
I can't remember I think it might have been, I think it was at least suspected of being some kind of an infernal association.
Right.
But the notion that from Versh's side is that person couldn't be recovered. And so basically, in his mind, the child was already dead.
And was going to cause more damage.
Right.
And
those are the sort of hard questions that the Order of Illumination, the Illuminated ones, have to ask is, what is the greater good? How do we stop this insidious force that is corrupting individuals? And they can be wrong. They can make mistakes, and terrible things can happen. And so one of the ideas going into the work on Oblivion was taking a look at the Order of Illumination in light of this infernal invasion and things changing and having to kind of enter into this weird alliance with Thamarites and accepting maybe necromancers aren't so bad as long as they're
Not infernal.
using their skeletons against our mutual enemies and things like that. And so you have a lot of kind of moral compromises happening that adds some nuance to that organization and also puts the Order of Illumination kind of front and center in the fight. Like these are our this is a subgroup of the Church of Morrow that is specifically focused on hunting down what is in our setting referred to as witches, which is those who practice illegal magic, black magic.
So what relationship is there, if any, between them and, say, like, the Strange Light?
Well, if you have a chance to read, our stories on the Strange Light, we've kind of shown that there's a tense. There's some tension between like the Strange Light Workshop and the Order of Illumination because the Strange Light is usually taking a more subtler, investigative approach. Like if there's a haunting happening, their approach is to try to maybe figure out why the ghost is having problems, solve it. Whereas if you bring in the Order of Illumination, maybe the ghost just gets a blessed bullet in the head, and now it's gone. And similarly, so they tend to be a little bit harsh. Like it's kind of like the Order of Illumination from the Strange Light's perspective is the nuclear option. You're like, if there's an infernalist cult, maybe the Strange Light would be in over its depth investigating them. You might need somebody like Versh to come in and start letting bullets fly.
Real fast, just in Twitch chat, there's a lot of questions going on. Ask people what the other factions are doing in Oblivion. There'll be a lot more lore chats with Doug in the future, and we've got a lot of topics to cover. So I know people are asking, what are Grimkin and Pharaoh doing during Oblivion? What is Rule doing? Each of those is like its own discussion. So as much as we're not ignoring you, and Doug just can't get to
specifically. I do think the Order of Illumination is rich enough that's something I'd kind of like to do. A whole dedicated lore chat on itself, just because it's a really interesting organization. It's one that has a lot of good flavor, and now we actually have models that are going to show up on the tabletop, which I think is really exciting. I mean, we've had Versh, which has always been kind of our nod toward the Order of Illumination, but it's cool to see where you could be kind of putting together an entire Morrowind army, which is something I've always looked forward to, from the earliest days of working on this material. Like some of the first stuff I worked on because Constance Blaze for Privateer Press was the figuring out what the Church of Morrow was and how it was organized and what its beliefs were, and because Constance Blaze is a great guy.
My most all these new units that are coming out, I'm super excited because now my Cephalics have new units to take control of.
And so more pieces.
Well, you have these brave these witch hunters that are risking their life and their souls to go try and protect people, but they're mine now.
But you could, I have to say, the Cephalics can work with anybody.
They could take the Legion of Lost Souls, which makes no sense.
They don't need to necessarily take the ones that are fighting the darkest forces to invade Imran.
We just care what guns you got. Sure. Like I don't care what side you're on. I'm like, that gun looks badass. I'm taking
all meat is equal to Cephalics.
Some meat shoot better than other meats, and some meat hit harder than other meat. So
your loyalties have been shown to be very much on the wrong side of this equation. I think in general,
as was evidenced during the whole War Madness thing.
Well, he's ready to become an infernal horror. He's working for the Cephalics.
Listen,
and he wants to ascend to an undead gator god like Barnabas.
Yeah, a gator god.
All of these carnage. End in the bliss of oblivion.
Yeah,
because the other option is like Grimkin in actual eternal torment. Like if someone's like, okay, here's your choices.
Look, there's
actual hell or nothingness. I'll be like,
there's a lot of fun to be had becoming a Grimkin.
No, there's not.
Being a Grimkin can
you could be a Nayslayer warhorse.
A lot more fun than being a horror.
That's what a Grimkin would say.
I think if I was given those two options, I'd rather be a Grimkin.
Did you not learn from Holden's story?
Holden got not the best slot.
Basically, so long as I don't have to be a Hollow Man or one of the little gnome-looking dudes carrying the pigs, I'm good with a Grimkin.
Hollow Man, but like I think it's kind of fun to be one of those crow guys. One of the
Murder Crow.
The Murder Crow.
That's not how it works. Okay, piggybacks. You get crushed for existence.
You just have to choose what your sins are.
Right.
And
plan accordingly.
That's not how it works.
Pre-plan.
I think you could steer in a direction.
This is a very weird Good Friday conversation. By the way,
it's really simple, Hungerford. Kill a whole bunch of people and become a Murder Crow.
No. How about instead, I just don't be.
Or, be greedy and then you can have a fun little pig on your back.
Or I don't. Okay, so before we get out of here, Doug,
We'll stop there. But I do think we'll return to some of these topics later. There's definitely still a lot of Oblivion stuff to talk about.
Well, and then of course there's all the lore that's going into the book in Oblivion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But just have fun thinking about how many different Inquisitions we have in the Iron Kingdoms, and how many people hunting various other types of people for things they don't like.
and there were questions during Twitch chat. They were asking, what the Inquisition for this faction, and as Doug said, those are the sort of the 5 groups that he would say.
I think there's some others
major ones
that
right?
you could take on a stretch, but those are the ones that kind of came immediately to mind as the closest to sort of
actual organizations.
having that vibe of Inquisitors.
Cool.
And that's where we're at.
Thanks, Doug.
Sure thing.
And yes, Raven, we're looking at both chats.
Doug Seacat, everyone, always a pleasure.
All right. Take care,
Hooray!
everybody.
Drums. Drums are so good. All right, so before we go into the outro, can we show off the Riot Quest models just one more time?
Sure.
Because they're so freaking sweet.
Sure.
Just gonna slide that guy in there and pan that way. Look at those.
I mean, I agree. I think they're great. I'm really excited to paint mine up, too.
I can't wait to play. All right, I just wanted to show them off again because they're dope.
So as we get out of here, I guess we got a couple things to talk about. We've got conventions to chat about. Anything you want to mention about conventions coming up that people should know about?
So first off, I just wanted to thank Ross Thompson, Gail Martindale, Peter, Kevin, and everyone else at Kingdom Con for putting on a great show. It was a lot of fun, and it was my first time there. And unfortunately, it was the last one as it exists. But it was a blast. It was great.
Yep.
Coming up next, of course, as far as where we will get to see all the people, is Lock and Load, which is going to be June 21st through the 23rd. First chance to get Infernals, possibly first chance to get a little bit of hands-on and play a little Riot Quest, depending on how production goes.
Sure. I'll use sock puppets if I have to.
Yeah, I mean, Hungerful will do whatever it takes. All the Hangouts, with a couple more coming soon, so keep your eyes on pplockandload.com so you can see when those events become available, sign up for those. A lot of different slots fill up fast, and basically come have a great time, hang out with us, eat delicious food with us, drink delicious drinks with us, and play a whole bunch of dope games.
Sure.
I mean, it really can't be any simpler than that.
We've never had a bad lock and load.
And literally never.
This won't be the first.
And the last 3 that I've been to have just been steadily increasing in awesomeness.
We can go to Jimmy John's together, y'all. Come hang out.
Yeah, it's a true story. I did have one question come up kind of regularly in my inbox, and that is the difference between, like the paid badge and the friends and family badge. The simple answer is the friends and family badge doesn't get you into a lot of the events. You can hang out, play games. You can hang out, show up, and basically hang out with us, go to Jimmy John's with us, what have you. And then you can play in the Iron Arena, you just won't get any points.
Yeah.
So if you want to come support someone who's, cheer from the sidelines as far as like the Iron Gauntlet or any of those kind of things, absolutely do. And when that's not going on, or if you want to play some games, you still absolutely can. So come hang out.
Don't forget all you Iron Gauntlet finalists. If you show up as qualified on the website, you do get a free badge. You can contact us for more information.
Conventions at privateerpress.com or john@privateerpress.com.
Quick question on Twitch chat. If you have the Friends and Family badge, can you buy stuff?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Yeah. Store's open to everybody.
So, anything else you want to talk about cons before we start wrapping up here?
Well, obviously, not terribly far after Lock and Load is going to be Gen Con August 1st through the 4th. I've got
Basically tomorrow.
bunch. It's basically the day after tomorrow. Lock and Load is basically tomorrow. Gen Con is I sleep and then we go to Gen Con. There's going to be some amazing things at both shows. Travis has worked his butt off to get all the events entered in for Gen Con. So if you haven't had a chance, those should either be live or going up soon. Get your badges and definitely check those out. Plus some of the stuff that we're going to have going on at the booth and other things I can't talk about yet are super exciting.
Simon Berman and I used to joke back in the day that we never actually leave conventions.
No.
We're just there in cold storage. And that this whole stream thing that's happening right now is a construct of my mind trying to stop me from going insane while I'm sleeping in a closet somewhere and I'm pulled out to build booths and take them back down.
It's true.
I think about that at moments like this.
As the person who has to manage those pods, I can confirm.
Quick question on Twitch chat. Seanster 3000 says, since James is shipping soon, time frame on her in War Room as she is getting to people. So when she is arriving, you will see her pop up in War Room. So soon.
Yeah, it's kind of a production decision, and then switches get flipped when we know they're actually going into hands.
So this has been a fun Primecast.
Yeah, all kinds of good stuff.
I want to thank Mike Valancourt and Doug Seacat for coming on. I want to thank executive producer extreme Tony Konachek, who makes all of the streams the best they can be. And I also want to thank associate producer Josh Colon, who contributed heavily to a lot of the images, ideas, thoughts, concepts, discussions, mic setup, lighting, and audio for this show. So thanks, Tony and Josh, for making this a good show.
Tony's the best of us. Josh is working on it.
Tony is the best of us and the second best looking man at Privateer Press.
Second best.
Directly behind Jack.
Yep.
So join us next month, everyone, as we'll be back. We'll be talking about the Iron Heads coming out, more Grimkin releases. The Privateers are going to start releasing then. We'll probably have some more stuff to talk about Riot Quest, maybe some more Monster Apocalypse news to talk about. Maybe we'll get Oz on here. He's on vacation right now after running back from Kingdom Con, so we did miss him this show. But come join us then. We'll have the schedule up soon, letting you know what it is. And thanks for joining it, everyone. We'll see you next week on Get Your Paint On and Dev Chat.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Number 10 is nuts.